Hello, listeners. If you've enjoyed these narrations, please click on that like and subscribe button. My mother died in a tragic car accident. It was a Saturday morning. She went out to buy some presents for her grandkids. Thanks to the slippery roads and dumb drivers, she ended up being hit while walking on the sidewalk, dying on impact. And in some twisted turn of events, everything she bought survived, almost perfect in condition. We buried her soon after, and I remembered how one night while we were having drinks, reminiscing about my childhood, she sarcastically said how I should leave her phone in her casket if she had ever died, in case she woke up. So I did just that. I left her phone because I thought she would want it, and it also gave me some peace of mind. The following months came and went. I don't really recall them too much. It was all just a blur. I wasn't really in my right mind, as I was mourning in my own way. Not really socializing, and staying away from everybody and everything at work. Not going out despite multiple invitations by friends and my wife. I even skipped my friend's Christmas play, which I hate myself for. They were so sad I didn't go. My wife eventually gave me an ultimatum. A week before Christmas. Either I get my things together, or I'd have to go find a hotel to spend Christmas at. It was difficult, but I had to try, and I really did. My wife and I debated for a while whether or not to include the presents my mother bought for the kids, or whether or not to leave them out, which also meant telling them that Santa isn't real. We couldn't agree on either option, so we reached a consensus. We do give them the presents my mother bought, and we do tell them it's from her, but in a special way. Grandma talked to Santa in heaven and asked to give you these presents. It's what we told them. They cried, they laughed, and so did we. Christmas was amazing. The first Christmas without my mother, and it hurt. For some context, we opened gifts the day before Christmas, before sleep. It sounds weird, I know, but we came from the European countries, and that's just how things are done over there. We're used to it. After the kids went to sleep and my wife signed off to bed, I just couldn't. It was eating me alive not being able to talk to her, and I cried. I cried so much I was just a mess that before I knew it, I had my phone held up to my ear, ringing. The ringing stopped. I pulled the phone away, looking at the screen in shock. The call timer was still ticking. It was a screen of being on call. I heard some shuffling and other weird sounds on the other side. Trying to listen in closer, I put it back to my ear. Hello?
P?
A female voice responded. My mom's voice. P was the nickname she always used for me. Mom. I broke into sobbing. She didn't say another word for a long while. I'm so sorry, Mom.
I'm here.
I miss you. I clutched the phone harder, as if doing so would get me closer to her. I couldn't really understand how this was happening. Maybe I was hallucinating.
It's your fault.
The voice rang from the other end. What? Mom. I was confused. What does she mean by that? Her voice was weird. It was hers, but somehow broken, distorted. Maybe the connection was bad. I mean, she was below the ground.
It's your fault.
It said again, even more distorted than before.
You killed me. You killed me.
It started repeating, screaming at me. I dropped the phone and started sobbing louder, covering my ears. I stayed like that for a long while, until my tears dried out. I opened my eyes again and looked at the phone on the ground. The call was still running, now at 15 minutes. It was silent again. Mom? I'm outside. Her voice was back to normal, but it was no longer sounding like her. It sounded like an imitation almost. What? Not believing what I'm hearing, a loud knock suddenly resounded through the front door. Open. Another knock came. This isn't real. I'm just hallucinating, I said, now rocking back and forth again. I was crazy. I was going out of my mind. Another knock, louder than the one before. Then another, and another. Soon someone was just banging on the door, faster and faster, building up momentum. Stop, please, just stop. I covered my ears and closed my eyes. I could still hear the banging on the door, and then a hand on my shoulder. I shook it away in shock. No! Peter, what's wrong? It was my wife. Her worried eyes peered down into mine. I was now on the ground, flaring my hands like a crazy man. I could no longer hear the knocking. Did you open it? Was it her? What do you mean? She looked extremely worried. Are you okay, Peter? I looked away, looked around frantically, using my hands to feel for the phone. When I found it, I looked at the screen. I was still on call. Mom, see, I'm on call with her. She's talking to me. I tried to explain to her.
Let me in.
Another whisper came from the phone. My wife was just shaking her head. Go to sleep, Peter. You're not well. Did you hear it? She's on the phone. See, listen, she's speaking. I shoved the phone into her face. Her eyes widened. How is this? Another loud knock on the front door interrupted her. What the hell? Who's knocking at this late hour? She started walking over to the front door. Please don't open the door. I yelled at her, but she didn't open it. She was just looking through the peephole. There's nobody here. Another loud knock. My wife jumped back, startled. Whoever this isn't funny. We'll call the police. It's me. Another knock. That's it, I'm calling the police. My wife walked up the stairs, probably to get her phone.
Please let me in. It's cold.
It pleaded, no longer sounding like my mother. Not even an imitation. It sounded like something inhuman. I slowly, shakily, walked over to the front door and looked through the peephole, while still holding my phone. I saw a figure in the tree line across the street, taller than any cars parked on the side of the road. It screeched loudly and started running to the house.
Will you let me out here and freeze, P?
The voice said simultaneously. I backed away from the door as it got to our yard. It started banging on the front door.
Let me in.
It started imitating my mother's voice, but it wasn't her. I already called the police, so you better get out of here while you still can. My wife warned as she started coming down the stairs, while also holding a large huntsman knife. The banging stopped. I built up the courage to look through the peephole again, but this time it was just black. I couldn't even see out to our front yard, even though the yard lights were on. Then I saw something move, something shifting. I realized it was its eye. It was looking inside the house. I screamed and backed away from the door. What is it? My wife asked, and I just kept screaming, while pointing at the door, trying to form the words in my mouth to warn her, to tell her not to open the door. But I couldn't. That's it, asshole. I have a knife. I'm coming out there, and you better be gone when I open this door. She warned while walking up to the door, full of fake confidence. I tried to tell her, tried to explain to her, but the words wouldn't come out. I was just whimpering. And she opened the door. It towered over her, almost double her height, and my wife just froze, not even looking up. It screeched loudly and picked her up. I couldn't move. I was frozen. My wife started screaming as it ran off and back into the forest. I could still hear her screaming long after she was gone. I was in shock, just frozen. Eventually the police came, trying to question me. I was complete unresponsive. All I could mutter out was it took her. The phone call was still connected to my mother's phone, now running at 76 minutes. The reality hit me eventually. Whatever it was, it took my wife. I calmed down despite my circumstances and was able to explain it to the cops. They sent a search party to the forest, but weren't able to find her. They also investigated my mother's grave to figure out how someone could answer the phone. Her grave was dug out and casket broken in half, and her body was gone along with the phone. It's been 2 days, and my wife wasn't found. My mother's body wasn't found either. I haven't tried calling. I'm afraid it will answer. My kids have been asking where Mom is, and all I can tell them is that she's away for a little bit. I don't know how to explain to them that she might not come back. I hope they find my wife. I'm planning to call the number again, pleading to take me instead of her, to bring her back. Wish me luck.